we get a story of what happened in our family history. We get this edited, curated, one-sided version of what happened that's had the love edited out. And with family constellations, we see where that love was and where it still is.
Welcome to The Vibrant Couple. Today I have invited Susan Pullen, who is a family constellation specialist, to talk about healing intergenerational trauma. So Susan, one of the modalities you use is family constellation. Please tell us more.
A family constellation is a process that helps make visual and tangible for us the connections between something in our present life and our family history. So if I back up for just a minute and explain, in our country, we tend to think of my problem is sort of mine, right? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of in my bubble with it. But it turns out that many of the things that we struggle with and that feel like a personal struggle actually have their origin in the family dynamics in our childhood and even further back in generations behind us. But that connection isn't typically conscious or visible or known to us. Once in a while, maybe we say, I'm turning into my mother, or I have this stomach ache and dad had stomach aches and granddad had stomach aches, or something like that, where we have some awareness, but most of the time that connection isn't conscious. And so processes like talk therapy or journaling or just thinking about it, I can't think or talk my way through something that's not conscious for me. So a family constellation is a process that makes that connection conscious and visible.
That's wonderful because, we all know that our mom and our dad, blah, blah, blah. And we spend the first half of our lives blaming them, and we realize that we didn't do that well with our children anyway. And I'm so glad we are beginning to talk more widely about intergenerational trauma. So all those things that basically have a sometimes long line of ancestors that did the same thing. And so please tell us more, how physically do you make things visible? Because family constellation is very unique from that perspective.
It is. So it's a body-centered or somatic experience. So, and there's a difference if I'm working one-on-one with someone or if we're working in a group, but I'll explain it in a group first. So in a group setting, someone will come and share. They'll be the seeker, so to speak. That's what we call it. And they'll share, this is something I'd like to have change in my life. It's there's a relationship issue. I keep falling in love with people who are not in love with me, or I keep getting in the same relationship pattern, and so I notice it's a pattern, but I don't know what to do about it or where it's coming from. So then we might have other people in the group stand in place of people in the seeker's family system. So these are people who have never met often. They don't know all of the stories. They don't know the background about your family. But let's say someone stands in for your mother, someone stands in for your father, someone stands in for you. And we call them representatives. The representatives, because we are very empathic, human beings are empathic, we have a felt sense when we're representing. I want to turn toward you. It's hard for me to look at you. I feel heavy. I feel spaced out. I get a little headache. But the things that people report they help show us, and I help interpret, of course, the dynamics and how those dynamics might be relevant. And there's often, even immediately, a resonance for people in what shows up, what the representatives share about their felt sense, their somatic experience, standing in the place of their family members or their family system.
The few family constellations I've done, I've been very impressed with that felt sense and how everyone is really surprised with how real it is and how we say, oh, wow, it's exactly like uncle or my grandchildren or this or that. So please give us an example of a couple coming to you with an issue that basically prevents them from feeling the love they have for each other, present them from being able to celebrate and practice it. And then you are able, as a healing facilitator, to interpret what happened to liberate that pattern.
So I'm thinking of a situation where one of the partners has a pattern of coming close to someone and then kind of retreating, or some people would say running away, breaking it off, putting up a wall, something like that, where there is part of them that really longs to be close to their partner, but there's this other part that that diverts them to exit stage right.
We've all experienced something like that, and it is very, very painful. So I totally see how they could not solve it the normal therapy way and came to you.
Yeah. And so in a case like that, I might start with a representative for the person, and maybe their mother and father, maybe just their mother. Because sometimes when we unpack the history, there's a place where I would have come closer to a parent, but the parent wasn't available. They had to be at work, they died, they left, they were taking care of another family member, they just emotionally weren't unavailable because this same pattern was playing out for them and for generations perhaps. And so we can see that when we put the two representatives of even just the seeker and mother together, and when, let's see, so through the process of working with the nervous system and being present and letting the feelings come up. And a great thing about constellation work with a group is you have a representative who's doing some of the emotional work for you. But when we can find a place where there can be that connection again, then you know in your body, in your being, how to persist with coming together in closeness, and how that can be safe. It changes the pattern from I get close, I move away, to I get close and I can get closer.
So not only is it no longer a mental process, because, affirmations, those kind of things and problem solving only work a little bit, but it's also because you are more embodied, it's much easier to stay in the discomfort of what is going on, and also see the dichotomy between, oh shit, I want to run, and I love my partner. And how can I be with them more and, be in the intimacy that nurtures both of us?
Yes, yeah. And if I included, say, grandmother in that same setup, then I would also see, oh, mom wasn't able to be fully available for me because she was still oriented toward what she didn't get with her mom. And so what felt like, or what I interpreted as a rejection perhaps of me, was actually about something that had nothing to do with me, that happened long before I even arrived on the scene.
Yeah, because some of these generational patterns are ancient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a friend a long time ago who was Indian from East India, and she saw all the patterns that sex was not safe for women in that culture. And she had done a lot of work to release that, but she totally saw how that pattern was something she had to work on every time.
Yeah. And it's one thing to understand something mentally, right?
Yeah,
And it's another
exactly.
thing for the body and the nervous system and the soul, I would say, you know? It's another thing for all the layers of our being to really get it. Yeah. Yeah.
So that getting it, is that why you call yourself a healing facilitator?
Yes. And because I believe that healing comes from within each person. And so for me, it would be presumptuous to call myself a healer because I don't think that I'm the one doing it. I might be the one creating the container, offering a process, offering my experience and skill, but it's the person going through their process and engaging, their own resources that, well, and beyond that into life itself that creates that healing.
You know, I love it because I call myself a coach because that's a word that everyone knows these days. But in reality, I'm an experiential educator. I create situations for basically people to see what's going on more, be more aware, and also learn to relax their nervous system with each other. So I'm so glad to hear about that nervous system relaxation, which more and more people seem to be talking about these days and understanding.
Yeah, and because it doesn't matter what we understand intellectually when the body is still has a very different thing happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the intent of this podcast is to help people become more connected and also to liberate love. And so do you see family constellation as a good tool to do that for couples?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I feel connected to more love, then I feel I have more to give. And when I don't feel like I'm looking for everything from my partner, that takes the pressure off. And then both of us can enjoy it more, right?
It's so interesting. We see when you said connected to more love, suddenly I breathe better. I relax. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One element of family constellation work is oftentimes we get a story of what happened in our family history. Dad was a good for nothing such and he left. We get this edited, curated, one-sided version of what happened that's had the love edited out. And with
Wow.
family constellations, the we see where that love was and where it still is.
Wow. Because it makes so much sense. Because when we feel unloved, we become defensive and in our judgments. And it's really easy to either, enlarge existing patterns or make shit up. I see that. And basically, children, grandchildren, and future generations end up with a totally false picture of basically where we come from.
Yeah, yeah. Because that story gets changed, whole people get edited out. Circumstances, the what each person brought to a relationship gets edited
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, so basically, you work with family constellation and other modalities. We're here about family constellation today. But whatever we do, the idea is to edit love back in or bring that third dimension or fifth dimension back in.
Yes, I would say to make it visible again. Because it's not that it was ever truly gone, it just couldn't be acknowledged or felt or seen. And perhaps there was even taboo around, loving my father, who was the quote unquote no good such and such, and left mom, right? So, because I
Yeah.
think that we are innately, we long to love and to share love, and then all these things get in the way of that, right?
So interesting. Yeah, because one thing that has always surprised me is I have two grandfathers, and one was successful, had money, had this and had that. And I was never impressed anything by him except he drove nice convertible cars. But apart from that, and the other was a loser in life, alcoholic, but his heart was open, and I was able to see all the stories around him in which love had been edited when it was not for me.
And I think
So,
as we do that, we have more compassion for other people, for their situation, the context around them, how they were able to show up or not show up. And then that spills over into ourselves of I can have compassion for the parts of myself that can show up or not show up, or you know, resist or be open hearted or be contracted. I can make room for that too, because there's just more space with an open heart.
yeah, and so I love that, make that visible, make space for it, because when we bring love back in, the events in the life of these people, many people have gone through war, the Great Depression, all these things for our ancestors. And we know it intellectually, but we do not understand how impacted they were.
Or how impacted we are generations later. It's just not
Exactly.
part of our Western thinking.
So, Susan, thank you for this wonderful conversation. This is part one. In part two, we're going to talk about the gift of being seen and understood. And then in part three, we're going to talk about how to end loneliness through basically bringing love back in and discarding old stories.
Thanks for having me.